Like, I don't know if they're going to accept it, though.
Here, and you and I were actually texting about this fight earlier today.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it is actually more of a rough matchup for Kevin Holland than I thought it would originally be. Marvin Vettori has 16 wins, 9 of them by submission. So maybe I was hoping he would stand with Kevin Holland. Maybe he wouldn't. Maybe he would actually look to take this down to the ground, and this still be a rough fight for Kevin Holland. So even though you and I both want him to take it, I don't know if he needs a second loss in a row. This is a really good middleweight.
It is. I'm kind of excited to like if Kevin takes it, I'd be worried about him, to be honest with you.
But somebody needs to do it, and it would definitely keep him. It put him back in the good graces of Dana White, I believe, who had some things to say about his performance against Derek Brunson. So I think if he was to take it, it definitely shows he's a businessman willing to step up and help out. And Dana's always really liked the fighters that do that.
Right. I tend to agree on that. But if he loses, I think he potentially loses his slot.
I think this would be the one that would finally tell him to go down the welterweight if he was to take it and lose.
Yeah, that's a very good possibility.
Any other fights on that card that you're really looking forward to? There's one that's kind of sticking out to me that I would really like to watch. That's Mackenzie Dern and Nina Ansaroff. That's the wife of Amanda Nunes, I believe. Nina Ansaroff is.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't mind seeing that. Last time we watched Mackenzie Dern, she looked pretty good.
I do remember that. Fight. It's gonna be an interesting fight. I put my money on Dern.
Same here. And you got Mike Perry, who's also fighting. He's always real fun to see what's going on social media. He's lost 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of his last 9.
Yeah, Mike Perry might want to hang it up because he was good at one point. I mean, he's still good, but he was banging him out at one point.
Yeah, he came in at 7-0 and had a pretty decent start. Ended up at 11-1 in the UFC with a loss to Alan Jobain, who's a good fighter. He's lost to some good people. Donald Cerrone, Vicente Luque, Jeff Neal. These are some good fighters. So he's got good losses, but I don't know how they're going to mess with him, seeing how he's got some weird things going on social media that people have commented on. So I don't know if that's affecting him in any way.
Probably is affecting him.
And one other fight on this one, and the only other one I'm really would be looking forward to, Jim Miller. I don't know his opponent, but I love Jim Miller. I don't know about you. He's been one that I've watched for so long.
I've been a Jim Miller fan. He also is 32-15. This dude's been fighting forever. Actually forever.
Yeah, and other than that one 4-fight skid that he had, which he lost to Dustin Poirier, Anthony Pettis,
Hooker,
Francisco Trinaldo, and Hooker in a 4-fight. That's a murder's row for 4 fights.
Yeah, he just came off beating Thiago Alves too.
Yeah,
he's lost to Cerrone twice. Dang, he's pretty much fought everybody he can.
Pretty much, he's fought everybody he can without fighting for a title.
Well, his losses aren't helping him.
No, the closest he got to a title match, I think, was in his fight against Benson Henderson back in 2011. Yeah, he was 20-2 at the time. The WEC had just came into the UFC. And I believe that was Benson Henderson's first fight in the UFC.
Mm.
Nope, I'm sorry, his second. His first was Mark Bocek, but he came in and beat Jim Miller. Next fight was against Clay Guida as a title eliminator, and then he went on to beat Frankie Edgar. But yeah, Jim Miller, he's definitely he's a scrapper, so he's one I would enjoy watching.
You know, I'm gonna double check this, but correct me if I'm wrong. But when Jim Miller fought Nate Diaz on the same card that Tony Ferguson had the infamous cage kick. Versus was it Michael Johnson that happened?
So that was the card that Michael Johnson and Tony Ferguson was on. I don't
that was not,
know.
It wasn't that fight.
I don't know which kick you're talking. What kick? You said off the cage. That's the Anthony Pettis Ben Henderson fight.
That's right. It was Anthony. I'm an idiot. My bad.
Hey, happens to all of us. We both have full-time jobs.
I had a blonde moment.
I actually this fight, Michael Johnson versus Tony Ferguson. Fun fact: that was the first fight Tony lost in the UFC, and the first one he had or the only one in the UFC he had for a very long time. In that fight, he broke his arm blocking a head kick, and it affected most of that fight.
I mean, Michael Johnson was a bad man. So I can believe that he did that. I can believe that he broke some dude's arm, kicking it.
There's actually another fight where this person actually ended up winning, but he had his arm broken by blocking a head kick. But then the kicker got knocked out by a single punch from the other hand later that round. Do you know which fight that is? Just fun fact for you.
Cannot think of it off the top of my head.
That would be Chuck Liddell versus Rich Franklin.
Oh. Going old school.
Yep. So, yeah. It's going to be a good card. I think it'll end up being one of those better cards. I really would have... one of those that kind of under-the-radar sleeper cards, I guess you could say, but I really would have thought with it being an ABC card, they would have stacked it a little bit more.
Yeah, they did not. That 185, the Krashriv and the Kyle guy, that should be a good one. That should be a good, nice little middleweight. 13-0 and 10-1. USA versus Russia.
And we may be overlooking that Arnold Allen fight, because Arnold Allen, he's a 16-1. Last two fights are wins over Gilbert Melendez and Nick Lentz.
I'm seeing that.
So we might be overlooking that one a little bit. That may be one to keep an eye on.
He has not lost in the UFC yet. And he's been fighting in the UFC since 2015.
Wow, that's actually really impressive.
I'm actually kind of curious to why he
so he's won. Is that 7 in a row?
Yeah, he lost in Cage Warriors, and then he came in. He won 2015 Fight Night, 2016 on Fight Night, and then 2017 on Fight Night, 2018 on Fight Night, 2019 on UFC on ESPN Plus 5, and then he finally got a UFC pay-per-view card. He beat Gilbert Mendez, and then they sent him back to ESPN Plus card. So he's fought every year and won. That's insane. What am I missing about this guy?
I feel like, has he been on the main card much? I'm assuming that Gilbert Melendez fight was probably on the main card, but I think it's the fact that featherweight is so stacked that he may be overlooked. I mean, on Tapology, he's currently sitting at number 11.
Yeah.
And I'm really scared that's going to be the fact that featherweight is just so stacked with Volkanovski, Holloway, Ortega, the Korean Zombie, Zabit. So that's probably what it is. That's probably why we've overlooked him.
True.
Like, it's really weird. He has 6 wins in a row. His most recent fight against Nick Lentz was in the prelims.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. Ridiculous. On the other hand, you got another flyweight, and Yusuf, who is also undefeated in the UFC, dating back 2018. So
I noticed that 4-0, and I mean, if you want to count Dana White's Contender Series, technically 5-0. I mean, if you want to do that.
I mean, yeah. I mean, he fought a dude who's fighting in the UFC right now. Beat a dude who's in the UFC right now. So that might, I mean, it might be a good card, you know.
It's one of those that could definitely fly under the radar. So I'm actually, it might actually turn out to be a good one. I would find out what I'm doing on April the 10th to see if I can tune in the best that I can. But yeah, it might actually turn out to be a good one. So guess we'll see. But let's transition into something else that really caught my eye.
What you got?
Because I can't, for the life of me, figure out how this happened. This is what I'm going to compare it to. I was talking to a buddy at work today, and he doesn't really follow MMA. He knows the mainstream stuff. He knows who Conor McGregor is, John Jones. You know, if you're a sports fan, you watch ESPN, you're going to know who these people are.
Mm-hmm.
I told him about a fight that was recently made. He didn't know either guy, and I didn't doubt it. But I told him that this caught me off guard. The same way that if for some reason, like beginning of last year, when Tom Brady was in free agency, looking for a team to go to, obviously we now know he went to Tampa Bay, somehow won a Super Bowl, good for him, either way. It almost would feel like if Tom Brady went to free agency and for some reason signed with the Saints, who had Drew Brees. That's how shocking this fight feels to me. How did the Leon Edwards and Nate Diaz fight happen? I don't think anybody was talking about that.
No, and no one was prepared for that. And we still don't know how to really take it right now. But I'm fucking pumped for it.
I am too. I didn't know I wanted that until I saw the headline from Ariel Helwani. I'm like, I didn't know I wanted that, but hey, here we are. Let's do it.
Let's do Diaz Edwards. And we're doing it.
Who do you think wins? I have my opinions, but
I want to say that Nate. I mean, I want to say that. You know, I don't know what to say because I want to say Diaz wins it, but I think that Leon I think he might be the better fighter right now.
I'm picking Leon because while I know there was still a lot of fight left in that Bilal fight when it ended, he looked really good. He looked very good. I also thought he looked really big. And
yeah, he did.
I want to look now and see how big Jorge Masvidal is. But if I remember watching the Jorge Masvidal and Nate Diaz fight, I really think Masvidal kind of ragdolled him a little bit, threw him around, just really overpowered him.
I can see that. Like he did, but I thought Jorge was a little bit bigger.
So I'm looking at it now, and I think he is. I just got to Jorge, and for some reason, it's not loading. Of course, why wouldn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Give me a sec, I'll find it. But Let me. Jorge, I cannot believe he used to fight at lightweight. By the way,